world building of
D&D.
I felt like I need coffee.
Dynamite. D&D.
Win the fight.
Let's talk about unicorns. There's the male version, which is a Pegasus.
Is that what
that sounds about
it
right.
really
Well,
is?
that's all the coffee I get.
I mean, because Pegasus is just a single winged horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, but it's a Pegasus.
But if you're a male entering a relationship with a couple, you're a Pegasus.
Oh, I didn't know that terminology.
yeah, 'cause
I'm not
like,
within
when-
spectrums enough to know terminology because I don't give a fuck.
Is that like the tire flip?
It's
Because when you're looking for
Because when you're
a woman in a third
entering a
party, it's
relationship
not
with
more
a
of a
couple,
rope
you're
joking.
So when
I
you're
don't
looking
know
for
the
a male, like a
CrossFits.
Pegasus fits.
what am I then? Am I a
Wait, how does
alicorn?
that work? Because the male has the
You're
horn.
like a hippogriff.
No.
Why is it a Pegasus
'Cause you're
wins a
getting
man,
paid.
but a unicorn wins a female?
You're getting paid.
No, don't even worry about it.
Sparkly bat.
Batman. Wait, that's a meme, isn't it?
No,
No?
so,
That was announced yesterday.
Yeah, or I think it was, whatever, last night was,
night,
and
yeah.
then
Pattinson.
confirmed this morning that Twilight dude, what's his name?
The new
Robert.
Robert Pattinson
yeah.
is the new
Okay,
Batman.
so I saw a meme
That's just a
with Robert Pattinson still being bitter
I was
about.
skeptical when they casted Ben
Affleck?
Yes, Ben Affleck.
It's
Yeah,
cast, it's not
Bagger
casted.
Vance. They cast
When they cast the guy from Dogma.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck. I actually really enjoyed
He
Ben
did a
Affleck.
He was a
Ben
good
Affleck
Bruce
as an
Wayne and
actor,
a good
so-
good old Batman.
In the role with what they did.
Like, and him all
What
jacked
they were
up and
supposed to
everything,
be.
I could actually believe him kicking someone's ass.
Yeah,
Or
it was
Christian Bale. I was like,
Real
no.
and like
Yeah,
realistic.
it was fine.
Like, I'm a
Realistic
nerd,
human.
and I don't think he could beat me up. Like I'm not buying it. You know.
It was fine.
Mhm.
The problem with the DC is not the actors. It's
No, they always have. Like
They have
Yeah,
good
they're-
actors.
they're-
They just
actors are great. Good talent.
Yeah.
Usually, really good casting.
just the story.
And then they
Terrible
give them
writing.
just absolutely
Well, I saw.
Here's our
Batman
1,000
versus
monkeys at
Superman
1,000
just to see how
typewriters, and
bad
here's
it
your
was.
script. Say what?
I saw Batman versus Superman just because it was bad.
your arm lady is staring at me
But
judgingly.
she's staring at you more now.
It is an excellent.
Why is she judging me? They haven't done anything today.
Right, except for like the camera can't see the tattoos.
Yeah,
so
Right?
they're
referencing a
just
tattoo that's
making
facing away
weird
from the
comments.
Show
And-
the camera the tattoo so I don't feel so freaky.
It is an
Just
excellent
be
tattoo.
like-
It is
You're-
a spectacular tattoo.
I had the
Yeah,
colors
nice.
redone last year, so
It's gorgeous.
She's pretty
She's just right in line to like her eyes are directed directly at me, and I'm like, "What did I do, flower-haired lady?"
Uh,
Janelle
Ba-
Evelyn at Super Genius Tattoo, right here.
Wow,
Not
product
sponsored.
placement.
I mean, we're doing that. I just,
I mean,
little yellow different.
it wouldn't be here without
coffee.
whatever
Which is
brand of carafe that
this
is.
is empty already.
There's
You
I
might
thought
have
it was
points, but when we talk about how awful breeding is, literally eugenics for pets,
pugs.
like that's literally how that started. Like, yeah, there were like breeds, but then eugenics, and they're like, oh, let's create breeds.
Hyperbreed.
Yeah, so
Yeah, like
every
bulldogs can't be born without a
That's-
C-section.
that's exactly what I was gonna say because
Their heads
part
are
of
too big.
part of the breed of the bulldog is they have to have narrow hips and giant heads. So almost every purebred bulldog that exists was birthed by C-section because they have tiny.
I don't
tiny
like this
hips.
subject. It's sad because it makes me think of pugs who can't breathe.
Yeah,
And
There's this,
everybody deserves to breathe.
this rich white Americans at the
Well,
beginning
they're
of the
all
20th
like
century.
can't breathe. Any
Everybody deserves to breathe, whether they do good things with it or not. They still deserve to breathe. It is a right as a living being to intake
Yes.
oxygen.
and if I keep going any further into it, I'm gonna get real political about it.
Oh, I do card weaving.
What's that?
You pet fur until it turns into wool.
No, that's spinning.
Oh, sorry, that's
It's part
carding.
of spinning.
Carding.
Carding.
card weaving?
Yeah, the Vikings used it to make trim for clothing, and I guess card weaving is different from inkle weaving, is that the pattern is in the cards. So when you put the thread in the cards, you're putting the pattern into, I don't know.
No, but what are the cards?
So it's just like a card with 4 holes, and you put thread through each 4 holes, and depending on the pattern, they'll differ in color. Simple patterns will have 2 colors. More complex patterns will have different. Or I guess you can put however many colors in a pattern you want.
Because the only weaving I've ever done is like the 5th grade. We're gonna weave blankets, and you make like the little swath about yay big,
Yeah.
with just a very basic loom, and then you just do stripes of color. And that's all the weaving I've
I
done.
did like pot holders that way.
Yeah, I mean
You
it's
put them on pegs.
yeah,
Um,
but
It's hard to explain card weaving because I'm not like a master at it. But
So basically, you
so the person who's read all the things,
right.
has
So
done
you
it.
shuttle,
Basically,
by
you're gonna
hand
explain
back
it.
and forth, but then your warp and your weft are contained on these cards, so you rotate or flip depending on your pattern for
Okay.
your shift and
Okay.
if that makes sense.
It
I
does
don't
to me
know
because
if you
I know enough of those words from my various Pinterest. I'm going to get into this later boards
yeah.
because doing the weaving is one thing that I've wanted to do.
Yeah, so you take the stringy string and you weave it through the wobbly wobblies, and then you go
and
squishy,
it
squishy.
depends on like which wishy-washy thingy that you throw through the thingy, and you can
Yeah.
flip it to make the pattern.
right. Like
And that's why women are magic, because they make things out of nothing.
And can do math.
Yeah.
I can't do math.
Well,
I
there's
can
no
explain
math
you
involved.
that.
There's no
I
math
mean, if you're,
involved in
if
card
you're counting
weaving.
threads, though, there is
It's
maybe
oh,
not math.
okay,
but
addition.
Geometry.
Addition.
that's math. That's literally math.
Weaving
So,
and math, I mean, yes, they are related, but those are different subject of why women are magic.
Yes. I mean, that's why women have to control the finances.
Exactly, because they can do math.
And because the bills get paid on time that
Yes.
way.
I was a woman when I was the one making sure the bills were
Looking
being
at all
paid
the
on
husbands
time.
out there.
I mean, is that not the thing in the Scandinavians? The women do the magic as foresight, or the
Oh no, I was fine, but then like there was this talk about like the wife paying bills, and then I was like,
I mean,
have you
Well-
not met my ex?
But I was talking strictly from a historical.
Oh, from a historical standpoint, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because women control the money because they have foresight, and foresight is magic. Therefore,
sure. I mean, yeah,
like resident Norse expert here. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, if you're talking about like the Scandinavian Iron Age, women were all about the magics and therefore the finances and therefore all of the important things. Men carried heavy shit. That was their job.
Carried heavy shit and swung a sword.
You know.
sounds
Rode a
good
boat.
to me. I want to
Chop a tree down.
So like most of your great Viking expeditions were all financed by women.
Yep.
I always find it terribly ironic that you get Beardy McFakes then going, oh, brewing, it's manly. I'm like, that was
It's a woman's art.
It was a science. It was women's work.
so
Going back to the ancient Egyptian brewing, it's cooking.
yeah.
It wasn't it until like the more recent
Yeah, 18th
Recent,
century. Yeah, 18th century.
like-
or
Christian monks that decided that the monks started doing it, and then it became
Well, I mean,
men's work.
depending on again time period, location,
Context.
context.
It
I
all
mean,
gets kind of muddled.
and any time you're talking about anything fundamentally pre-Victorian, it's
very
anecdotal
separated.
for specific places and times
because it was so commonplace.
like the division of labor was much more
Precise.
Yeah, equal. Yeah.
Whereas in Victorian age forward, then you have very specific gender roles and very specific division of labor.
Because most of history forever, you got a fucking farm to till. You got a cow to milk.
Somebody's got to do it.
I don't give a shit about daylight savings time. The cows wake up when they wake up. You got to milk them.
Yeah.
Cows wake up when the sun comes up.
But no, like the interesting, back to manly art of brewing in the Viking Age, and that.
What?
So the legal term as laid out in the Gaufing law, and then redefined in the Gragas of Iceland, but the Gaufing of Norway, it's hinted at in the Reitlosa of the other Vastergatalagen, which is the rightless code of the Old West Gotland law.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But
Those are words.
yeah, the legal term.
Probably.
The legal term is regel, or so, and then somebody who's accused of regel is irgi, and roughly translated into the modern vulgar argot, irgi is a power bottom.
Oh.
Yeah. That would be your manly brew, dude.
Hey. I mean,
A pool boy, but makes booze.
There you go. So there's
It's a very different kind of pool.
So it's just
So
a,
there's a Speedo with a bushy beard and
like
Great big.
it is
bushy
just
hipster
like
guy in a
I'm
Speedo
not
throwing
I'm
a
not passing specific judgments. I'm just laughing at the slightly ironic juxtaposition of the historical practice versus the modern perception.
Sure.
And
And I mean, like, you can even get, again, taking a step back or two, about the brewing practices where the stick was magic.
yeah.
Like, because, science now, like, okay, we have a wooden stirring stick that we use to stir up all our honey with the water,
Mhm.
and we use the magic stick, now we have booze, and, stir it up and it makes booze.
Yeah.
Or cheese, too, is another one, too.
because if you use the wrong material, it won't do
But
the
if
right
you use
thing.
the right material repeatedly, you get a consistent product.
Mhm.
There was a thing I was watching. It was a nun in Pennsylvania, I think, that went and got her master's degree in microbiology just so she could make raw milk cheese in the U.S. because in the
Oh yeah, you can't do unpasteurized
Yeah.
any dairy.
Yeah.
Which is one of the illegal cheese trade. Before legalization of marijuana, more illegal cheese was smuggled into the U.S. through the Washington-Canadian border that way than marijuana. Yeah.
Yeah.
By orders of magnitude.
Yeah.
In both
volume
and price.
what makes unpasteurized cheese so amazing?
There's a religious thing too, but because of the reason it's a no-go in the U.S. is because there's industrialized cheese processing, which is not necessarily conducive to inherent sanitation, and it's not always that way. But factory cheese or factory milks, you rub some iodine on the nipples and you stick a family of dairy farmers. I've known dairy farmers. That's the general sanitation process: is you rub some iodine on the nipples and then you stick the little sucker on it and it sucks out all the milk. That's just literally what they do. I've seen it. I've witnessed it many times. But the issue comes when they, again, when you get on an industrial scale, it doesn't necessarily
Actually
stay sanitary.
Yeah.
there's enough steps in between where
You're walking into the
contamination,
troughs, and
yeah.
they also go to the bathroom in the same troughs that they're walking through. And
right, because
picking
they
it
have to
up
stay
to.
on they have to stay in the milking trough for an hour, half an hour to an hour to
And you're cycling through thousands in a day.
and they're cows, so they're just shitting because they do that.
So the same reason why we wash our hands.
Yeah,
Eliminate
basically.
bacteria.
It's
But-
pasteurization is
Because of
you're
the-
sanitizing
You
it
heat
by
it up,
cooking.
kill
But when you're
bacteria.
doing so, the reason raw milk cheeses are a thing or whatever is that you can do it in small batches.
Yeah.
You have more control and more regulation over it,
And
and because of how cheese works, the natural yeast and bacteria can impart
different
beneficial
flavors and
and properties to the cheese. So
and there's
potentially,
also, if you pasteurize something, you can't then leave it out on the counter.
Mhm.
But if it's unpasteurized, you can leave it at room temperature. This way, if you have fresh eggs straight from somebody who has chickens or ducks or whatever, you can just leave them on the counter until you
'Cause
use
there's-
them.
Oh.
If they've already been pasteurized and sanded down so they're smooth, you can't then put them out on the counter and let them just sit there until you're ready to use them, unless you're bringing them up to room temperature to cook
So-
right away.
Yeah,
In the
you get a
pasture-
couple of hours sitting out.
Yeah, in the
Yeah,
pasteurization
pasteurization.
process, they kill all of the bad things, but they also
To kill
kill
the good
all,
things,
all
too.
of the preservative good things.
It's kind of like how your body has bacteria, both good and bad.
Kind of like an
And when you
like
take antibiotics and all your shit
the
gets
Roma-
out of
kind of
whack, I
almost
know,
like
you know what I'm talking
a
about.
single barrel versus mix.
Same
I
thing
might
happens
have a
with
degree in
pasteurizing.
that
It's
field.
a
Right,
unique,
right.
like-
Same thing happens when you pasteurize.
You milk through the
Yeah.
stomach,
So
it
it
might have a
gets-
certain flavor,
but
and that
due
same
to
cow a month
the
later might have a
magnitude
different flavor
of
because
the
it ate
industry
different things at a
complex,
different time of
You
year.
have to make sure everything's dead.
We've talked about illegal cheese trade and Norse code
Power bottom.
power bottoms.
North Power
I
Bottoms.
can even bring this back into a tie-in again. So,
Oh, okay.
So
Norse
Nuling,
use power bottles.
Nuling, the sing-songy cow calls of Varnland in Sweden originates from the Scanian laws, about women killing cows with their voice by magic.
The one like the
That's
northern Sweden, the cow call.
Yeah.
Like I know
sing-songy,
you're
almost yodeling.
the female artists you really like.
No, that's yoiking. The yoiks are a
Oh,
completely different thing.
But I know there's
That's-
one. There's the
that's
famous
Sami.
of the Sami
So-
was calling the cows, and it was like a song they'd sing, but it'd
And
be
it-
called.
well, it's 'cause-
Yoiks and cow calls are
Oh.
very, very different.
I mean,
Like,
I've got
They
a
sound
dog.
kind of the same, but not
Yeah.
really. But also
Wait,
very different.
what, been called the Power Bottom 3
No.
times?
Well, no, that's okay.
Different.
That's a whole different. So the Grogos lays out that you can sue a person for slanderous offense or libel up to 3 times. After that, if they're still, you gotta fight them. Now, on the instance of deciding to go whoop somebody's ass because they called you an irgi, you can only bring no more than 3 friends, because if it requires more than 4 of you to beat them up, maybe it's true. That's the way the law is written.
Viking laws.
Yeah, on women or witches killing livestock by magic. There's one set of fines for that. There's a different set of fines for women killing men by magic. There's a different set of fines listed out if she's the terminology is if she's a good wife, meaning she's just if she just killed. But one of my favorite things is that there is also fines listed out if she is part of the 100, meaning that she is a professional soldier. Those are different levels of fines for
Cursing men to death.
like if a chick kills a dude, what I found interesting is that it's more important for establishing, the fine. If it's determined that she was guilty, it wasn't a justifiable. The fine is dependent on whether she's a witch, just a regular person, or a soldier. And I thought that was interesting because a lot of the other fines are more
The level of offense versus
is more invested in who was killed.
Versus who was doing it.
And when it comes to fining women, dude's dead, but what you're paying in Vergeld, in blood money for the debt that you incurred, is dependent on her role in society. And the 3 classifications listed in the old West Scottish law was, whether or not she was a witch, whether or not she was a wife, or whether or not she was a soldier.
Knowledgeable, I guess, maybe?
Huh?
Things like, is it that a witch and soldier should have known better not to do it, or done it in other
it's
means?
probably more of
Genuinely, I would imagine, given the context of a lot of the other laws and the way, like, the threefold fine works, it probably is because, a witch or a wise one, whatever, or a soldier is more likely to be able to afford to pay this fine, right? So the way the like, especially
in something,
in,
you can afford
in,
it, so we're
yeah,
gonna find you more.
in Viking Age Sweden specifically, the fines were like, if you were fined, 100 marks, right? Which is outsane, but just anyway, for ease of math, okay, you're fined 100 marks, so you would pay 300 because you pay 100 marks to the victim's family, right? You pay 100 marks to the local municipality, and basically that's the way taxes work, and you pay 100 marks to the crown. So anytime those fines are listed, it's whatever it's listed times 3. So, when they're listing out, it's 20 ells of cotton, or not cotton, linen.
You're paying 60.
You're paying 60.
20 to the people, 20 to the local, and then 20 to the
ruler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's interesting because then it also, it basically uses lawsuits as a way of generating tax revenue. But, as much as, we talk about, like, Iron Age Scandinavians just running around axing people in the face all the time, not really. They were mostly a super litigious society. They had laws for everything, and you had 7-day courts, moot courts, quarter courts, cross courts, the grand things. These people had laws and lawyers, and fighting was really kind of your last option. You just sue people. That's what you did. Everyone sued everyone kind of all the time.
Which is kind of like my still favorite headcanon is that, I'm not saying it pans out in fact, but, the Vikingers going over to the Westland, they weren't going to fight. I mean, yeah, they were. But it was a bunch of dudes looking to chop down some trees.
Oh, like all the way, like when you start talking like Iceland and Orkneys and Shetland and yeah.
Into the Vinlands, they're like, we're not here to fight. We just tie some trees to the boat. We'll float.
Vinland, I mean, because when you talk about like Greenland and Vinland, mostly you end up there because
you're too insane to be in the before.
Yeah. So you've been outlawed everywhere else, which when you're declared an outlaw means you're outside the law, which means that no laws protect you, so it's not a crime to kill you.
So you're like, well, fuck, I
It's
might as well go
time to
there.
go! You know, I mean, that's how
I
Eric
can't
Bloodaxe
sue you,
ended
but
up.
you can kill me.
Eric Bloodaxe ended up as King of York
Yeah.
twice. It's because he got outlawed from
everywhere else.
everywhere. And then he was like, fine, I'll just go
I'll start my own kingdom with blackjack and hookers.
and Saxons. And boom,
Same thing.
York and the Danelaw.
But yeah, I mean, just the
And
idea,
then he
like,
got driven out, and then he tried to go back to Denmark, and they were like, no. And so he had to raise an army and take York again, because otherwise he was getting his ass killed. It was either,
there or nowhere.
yeah.
Just fucking die in a boat.
Or making a New York. And then we'd have New York.
New
Yeah.
Holland, originally.
New
Year
Amsterdam.
3000.
Oh, you're right, New Amsterdam. Yeah. But
Yeah, like, there, I don't know. There's a lot of, concepts of this, like, oh, we're just, like, super
Big, beefy man.
machismo.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, the idea, like, that I was kind of alluding. It's like, yeah, I mean, sure they were there to do the thing, but it was a bunch of, not peasants necessarily, but like, you don't fight with an axe if you can afford literally anything else.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like a spear is a better weapon.
Spear is a way better weapon. Yeah.
Just flat out, there's a reason it's been the main weapon for. It was the
Of
last.
almost
It was the
every
In
last.
many cultures.
It was the last melee weapon used en masse.
Period. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
End of statement.
well, when
Let's talk about spears.
yeah, I mean, when you
Bayonet was
when
essentially
you
a spear.
look at
It was
a bayonet, it's like
It was
instant
turning.
spear.
It
It's
was
a
turning
spear
your,
at the end of a firearm.
Yeah, it was turning your bang stick into a stabby stick to make up for not having the stabby stick anymore.
That's what she said.
So I could go into the whole
Title of my new punk band.
the whole tercio mass weapon pike and arquebus formation. It was they.
Here's spear
And
formation
they
just
figured
turned
out.
into firearm.
So the first bayonet was literally a stabby metal bit that you stuck in the end of your fucking musket.
shooty bit.
Yeah, because well, fuck, they're charging us and we don't have any pikes, so I'm just gonna
I don't have
cram a
45
fucking.
seconds to reload, so
Yeah, I'm gonna cram a fucking 2-foot chunk of metal into the end of my fucking, bang stick. Now it's a stabby stick. I can't use my gun anymore, but I'm not gonna get run over by the fucking horse.
Hopefully.
You're not gonna get it out of there. And then there was the ring bayonet, and then eventually the socket bayonet, which is where the the classic, Revolutionary War brown vest or brown vest, right? Like bang, the British the brown vests.
Like, my historical knowledge pretty much ends at around 1100.
Fair. Mine bounces around.
Like,
Mine
I
ends it starts and ends somewhere in like 99.
yeah, mine's like somewhere between like 2000 and
Cut all of that out.
2019.
So
Like,
the
I can
British
tell you when I was
flintlock,
5
right,
and that's it.
flintlock musket was I believe it's the brown vest, and it was about this long, and it would probably hit that 20 guys about 40 feet away, probably. So to finish my point earlier, I was going to say.
All right, a song of ice
So
and fire.
if you're under 21, don't watch this part. Spoilers. If you take bread yeast, and apples and mash them together in a clean container, you can get booze. That was the thing from earlier with the magic stick. That was the point that I had that I forgot. And I remembered.
okay.
Oh, okay.
So we can move on from that.
So
It's
we
been-
can cut out like an hour of talking so you can.
No.
Like anxiety and say weed, for instance, right? Is that there's radically different
Opposing.
anecdotal evidence.
Yeah.
And
Depending
and
on the
there's-
various strains and the various individual.
it's one of those
Like-
where it's like I feel like, and I don't know, and so I'm
Yeah.
going to be like super passive and be like, oh, I feel like that you can't have a meaningful, factual discussion because there's just not a lot of research, and what little there is, I'm not very well versed on. And it just comes back down to some people are like, yeah, I smoke some weed and it totally chills me out and helps my anxiety, and other people are like, no, man, if I smoke some weed, I'm like super anxious for days afterwards.
I'm the super anxious fucker.
And it's like, what?
So
Yeah.
I've thought about this not a small amount. So the way I think about drugs is kind of how I feel about sriracha. So drugs feel good.
Oh, okay. I was like, it's better when legally imported from Thailand.
But better when you call it cock sauce.
Anyway,
But it all feels like you're on drugs. Very much like sriracha tastes good, but it makes everything taste like sriracha. Does that make sense?
No, it does
Maybe-
not.
No.
Maybe.
No,
Yeah.
because sriracha.
that was very
taste.
meta, but not a lot of four. You need to work on
Okay.
that.
It made more sense.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you like the way that it makes you feel, it all feels good. But if you don't like being out of control of your, in the drug sense.
because
Yeah.
different
If
drugs
you're
have
into it, you're
wildly
into it.
different
But if you're
effects
not,
on
you're
you.
not.
And again, my experience is not everybody's experience. Like everybody's taste buds are not into sriracha.
The last time
I'm one
I
for
got
five.
high-
So
the last time I got high, I was having an anxiety attack, and I thought I'm gonna have some weed because
To
I
help
had
your
some
anxiety
edibles,
attack.
and it actually made my anxiety worse.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's not.
I
It
get-
kind of rewired what
Like
I was
feeling
thinking
high, but
about,
also,
like it,
like,
because
I'm not in
the thing I
control
was
of
thinking
myself right
about, I was like for it, and then after a while, I became against the thing I was thinking about. Like,
don't
kind of
know,
rewired the way I thought about it.
Like I'll be super chill and I'll be like, I'm gonna have this thing because I'm in general chronic pain issues. So I'm gonna have this edible or smoke this thing, and then suddenly I'm so anxious I have to scrub my house down because somebody might judge me even though I'm the only one at home.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I'm gonna throw up.
So I stopped smoking weed because I was spending $20 at Taco Bell in 1995.
That's a lot of
That was like
That is a shitload of tacos. They were 39 cents.
Oh.
I mean that is a
Like, I
valid
don't
reason.
have the, like, oh no, I was really tripped. I don't
No.
know. I could have had anxiety. I was too high to tell. Like,
all I knew was I wanted.
You
Like,
weren't spending
40 tacos.
$60 a week on marijuana. You were spending like $5 a week on marijuana and $100 a week on tacos.
yeah. Like,
And it was all stems.
This is Yakima.
no, oh god, we used to
I
get
believe it's Japanese for Yakima.
we used, Buddy Ogre, we'd get stuff from Ogre. Anyway, they crap. We'd get weird shit. Like Justin came up with like.
They come, they tell you the name,
Like,
and you're like,
Oh, well, no, because it would have like lot numbers. Because this is the early '90s, mid '90s. We were buying it out of the hydroponics lab at the UW. So
I believe that is cannabis sativa, Northern Lights.
so
No,
Yeah,
it's
we would-
marijuana.
we would just have lot numbers on it, but it would be like we got some bright blue. It was vibrant blue. It was
Alaskan Thunderfuck.
crazy.
Canadian moose knuckle. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think those were all strains.
it was
think
at
of
the
it as
point
a
where a buddy of mine.
Ontario
Like-
sticky fists. I don't
Yeah,
know.
he'd always he'd open the bag, pull out a bud, and then if it didn't stick to his forehead, that was shit, and we wouldn't buy it.
that's like,
Like,
yeah, that's a valid.
Right.
Like I'm just making shit up.
yeah, like
But am I though?
no, I'm probably. we've
I
probably
know
heard
the
all
Alaska
of them.
Thunderfuck is an actual.
Yeah,
Right.
that stuff
This
is
a big one.
it's way overrated. it's
Right.
not that good. It
I
was
mean,
kinda
so long as
stupid.
it's not from Yakima or Eastern Washington
Yakima.
No, you just
or Oregon.
Bellingham, like literally.
You go north within the
Whatcom
same
County had
corridor.
I don't know anymore because
Right
I'm
now
old
it's
and I haven't
legal. Now
smoked
you
weed
go.
in 20 years. But
Now it's legal. You go
Well,
a
you
block
can go
that
there,
way.
or there, or
Right.
there, or there,
Or
But-
there.
or
Back in
about
the-
another mile in there.
Just
Yeah.
go up and
there.
down 99. for
yeah,
a
I think it
little
was. Shit, was
If
it?
you need cars or weed, just go up and down 99.
What was
Or
it?
hookers, I guess.
They will accept if you can only pay them in quarters.
I think it was
Your high school dealer?
who went to
They also just
Amsterdam.
accept gas.
Went to a hash bar
If you
in
just fill their tank,
Amsterdam,
they're
and then
pretty
he
much
was
good
like,
with that.
you know, what is your best weed you've got? The best marijuana.
Price
you
is
have.
not an issue. Just
Yeah,
give
just
me
get. So they bring out this tray, and it's got all of it, and they're like,
easy
this stuff is the best, and the best stuff in the world, and it comes from Whatcom County, north of Seattle. He's like, I live in fucking Bellingham. I
from
flew
Washington
halfway
County.
across the world to
Please
smoke
tell me you're
my
rich.
own weed.
I grew this. It's mine.
Yeah.
Where's the sticker's still on it?
Basically, yeah, it was one of those.
I know this guy. He grew it. I know my name. It's Dave.
He's my dealer.
Dave the
He's
dealer.
my dealer.
Yeah. Basically, the whole reason that Pratchett and Gaiman got together to write Good Omens was because Gaiman ripped off a lot of the esoteric concepts of small gods to write American gods. Vastly different stories and whatnot.
Sure.
It's like, but just that.
General concept.
That some of that.
I appreciate like you
You
took
know,
the thing and you did your own thing with it, but like, hey, why
Yeah,
instead of like
but
being
they
enemies,
were-
let's do something together.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, they were both British sci-fi fantasy
You know,
authors.
a lot of the
and
times
it's
too,
so
like
nice.
that's,
yeah, so it's like
There's
That's
like
usually
there's
the
like
thing
three
of,
of
like,
them,
the
and
white
there's
balance
two of the
view.
three.
yeah. I mean,
So-
it's like they're It wasn't. I don't want
But
to
I
say
mean, like, even-
necessarily ripped off, but what drew inspiration
Yeah, but
from,
I mean-
and then
Even in that vein, so it's not an uncommon in the fantasy, but Steven Eriksson's Smalls on Tale of the Fallen, he has kind of that same push pull of the the gods are what the people believe in, and then the gods that people don't believe in fall by the wayside, and that kind of same thing. It's not an uncommon trope.
well,
And-
yeah.
And
The
it came-
anthropology, the term from anthropology is what is it? Malleable apotheosis.
yes, yeah, that's
So if you ever care to
yeah. I mean,
write a
like,
thesis
that-
on it,
yeah, really,
that-
like, 'cause
that
really the
actually
Romans were the
happens.
ones that kind of created the inception, or the popularized that whole thing. Because so there are only these many gods, therefore all of the gods are these gods. So we have to, that was, I can't remember the name of it. I think it might have been something apotheosis, where where they went and found the gods from the other cultures, and like, well, Odin is Mercury, I think.
yeah, and
He applies to the
Where they
trickster,
blend them
the
together, but
trickster
there's
and
almost
wisdom.
right,
and
right,
it,
and
that's just the
it's
one that
all
comes
like when you
which again goes.
I mean in a way the pantheons and whatnot all to some extent still follow Campbell's monomyth.
Yeah, archetypes.
Except for then you do definitely get some that are totally fucking out there. Like,
I mean, like Hermes weirdly is a cultural phenomenon that still persists to this day, where he's a traveler god, a messenger god, a healing god, and like
wisdom, magic, secrets.
exactly crossroads.
But then,
Can we talk about Hermes for a second?
no, fuck Hermes. Let's talk about Belial and Enki and,
No, I was
the
just talking-
Anunnaki.
I was just
Well, let's go.
literally saying the giant fucking marble blocks with a head and a penis. That was a
Yeah,
Ouch, I mean.
it's called a herm.
Well,
Herm
that's-
means
Yeah,
pile of
mama.
stone,
right.
and it became a crossroads marker in ancient Greece. It evolved into a giant marble block with a bust and a penis.
Well, I mean, that might also come from Hermes and Aphrodite's
No.
child, Hermaphrodite,
I mean,
There's a linguistic
which is where that
argument there
term
where
comes
Herm
from.
probably came
But-
from the pile of stone, which later became a retronym for the god that was the god
You're
of the
like,
crossroad.
How about
And they
we
just
stick a
started
stick on it?
stapling stone penises to stone instead.
And there's some penis on this.
Because you know,
Like, because the Greeks, the
Humans
Romans,
since
they
the
were all
beginning.
about just putting penises on everything.
Yeah, they
Let-
were
honestly,
like that.
yeah.
let's be honest.
Humans-
since the beginning of humans have been
Put
about
penises
sticking
on
penises on
We're just
everything.
like-
While
dick.
not being wrong,
Some
I mean,
dogs repeating
skyscrapers are all
existence
dicks.
for penises.
Is there a more monolithic dick culture than skyscrapers? I'm gonna build the biggest, fattest, tallest thing I can. Prove me wrong.
Title of my sex tape.
they sway in the wind just so.
So would it be
They're not that
was tall
stiff.
enough?
But as a skyscraper ever saw to in the
it's continental helicoptering, okay? Like,
I mean,
oh,
Yeah.
well, Nergal, the Anuki,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah,
I know these names. I can't.
Sumerian.
Yeah.
Lords of Hell.
Fucking aliens! Come on. Like,
I mean,
I believe History Channel has a show for that.
The
oh
Egyptians
god.
were
I don't have the hair anymore.
Yeah, so fucking crazy people, but I like the Sumerian, mythology because it's radically different than a lot of others.
Yeah, and
But then the problem is, like, casually researching ancient Sumer is because then
You can't-
people are like, aliens, and I'm like, no, like, yes, we understood that they
Like,
thought their gods were aliens, like literally travel in spaceships, and
But that's a pretty.
yeah, I mean, 6,000 years ago, humans are not fundamentally different than
No, I mean-
modern humans.
No?
it's-
Oh, a bunch of fucking.
So
Weird.
weren't really aware that
you
the
know,
universe existed.
and,
Well, some
I mean,
did, some didn't at varying degrees.
5,000 years ago, some dude figured
No,
out
no,
that the Earth was
understanding.
round with a stick.
Mm-hmm.
And yet
Fake
there's a
news,
flat
big
Earth
globe.
society.
I mean, it was easier when there wasn't so much light pollution. You can actually see shit going on.
No,
up
no,
there.
he did it in the middle of the day. That was the whole point of the experiment. Was
Well, I'm just talking
So
about
in-
the
in-
general and
Athens or Epirus or wherever the fuck he was originally from. He's like, okay, well, this is my city. Here's my stick. It is this tall. My shadow is my stick's shadow is this long. Now I'm going to travel south to Egypt, across the ocean. A week later, well, my stick is this long, and the shadow is only this long.
at the same
Using-
time of day.
5,000 year ago math, he was able to figure out, oh, the Earth is this big.
Didn't even need fucking calculus.
Within less than
With
less
the
than 5%?
Yeah, surprising degree of accuracy.
The fact that the concept that medieval Europeans had this whole flat Earth.
no one ever really thought
No.
the Earth was flat.
Like even Christopher Columbus didn't think the Earth was flat.
dude,
He
that
just
was
thought
He
it,
thought it was pear shaped.
and didn't think there was another continent.
Yeah.
He thought he was
Yeah, well, he thought, he would have went and just ended up on the other side. He didn't think there was something in the middle
Which is
at that time.
debatable.
arguably a weird fluke of the Earth's geography is that most of the landmass happens to be in the northern part of the world just because of a random fluke of geology. It's
Right.
There's nothing.
The whole Columbus. Oh god, that always irritates me when Columbus thought he was going to India. Why?
I thought he was trying to find a trade route from Europe to China.
A faster
on
trade
the
route than
ocean.
it's. But
I was like,
he
oh,
didn't
here's
go to
America.
India because India was not a place.
Not yet.
In 1492, that region was known as Hindustan.
Sindhu.
but there was no India. So,
Barada.
I mean,
Barada.
Well,
the
blame the really shitty American
public
textbooks
schools, I understand,
for saying India versus the Asiatic continent.
Yeah.
right, and
That's
then
what
so
it's
like
because-
why Native Americans or whatever ended up getting called Indians is actually
It's a retro
Vespucci,
Yeah.
the land under God.
Referred to the people
Or sorry, people under
as the Una gente Indios, a people of God. And so Indios got shortened into Indian, or not shortened, but bastardized into Indian. Has nothing to do with mistaken geography.
Yeah, which, because going back in history, Europe has always been in contact with Asia.
Yeah,
Always, literally since
There's the Silk Road.
even before that.
Even like
the
trading
first-
in contact.
Let me tell you about the
I'll go
time
in
the
and
Greeks
invade
fought
a
the Chinese.
Oh, that's the second time you brought that up.
No, I'm just saying. But like since
go for it.
always,
there's like a
Or,
great, I
the
want to say it's
Mongols
like
taking
3rd
over
century
Russia.
BC, Chinese, I can't. Anyway, basically, it's a report to the emperor
Yeah.
from the surveyors and whatnot, and they're talking about the Roman Empire, and it is freaking amazing because
It's
they
new
refer to the Roman Empire as being quaint.
yeah, it's new and it's quaint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
you
isn't
yeah.
that
Look at
cute?
this! Look at
Oh,
this
the
budding
quaint
civilization.
empire, isn't it cute?
And arguably
There's
one of
this
the
small little
like
thing over there,
Yeah.
like it holds nothing to like our hundreds of thousands of years of history and
Yeah,
our
and, like,
state
You need
of
to
Yeah, it
ours.
wasn't-
find that fucking-
Not hundreds of
it's like
but
hundreds of. But yeah, I mean, like arguably one of the
Yeah.
big reasons for the 3rd century collapse, or the 3rd century troubles, depending on who you ask, of the Roman Empire, is because they were sending all of their gold to fucking China because they wanted silk togas. I mean, that wasn't the only reason, but that was one of them.
Yep.
And yeah, so for
It's not
literally all of history, Europe
Yeah.
and China,
It's
or
not,
the Indus Valley. I mean, there was transcontinental
right.
baggage, but
Trade.
even like sea trade.
Sea trade. Yeah.
Like sea trade, overland trade.
Yeah, it's just
Arguably, most of what's propped up China as an empire or a kingdom for all of history is that they just happen to have things that they could sell to Europe. It's not the only reason, but it's one of the things that they just had, silk mostly. That's the big one. They figured out how to tame the silkworm and just sell that westward, and then they bring us gold. I mean, the whole Zheng He, is that the admiral that, or the Zheng He was the admiral, but there was the giant trade fleet that China built, and like we're gonna build like 100 ships that are football fields long, and we're just gonna load them with treasure basically. And it was, I think, the second most expensive voyage in history relative to the time period, next to Mansa Musa.
Lots of moves. Oh god.
But yeah, they just took their giant fucking ships full of treasure and was like, here's gold. Fucking
Here, have it.
here's food, gold, spices, whatever. And just bounced around the Indian Ocean into eastern, like through the Horn of Africa and Eastern Africa. It's just like, yeah, there you go. We're gonna bring back an elephant and a tiger and some lions and whatever.
some weird shit.
Yeah.
I don't know what this thing is.
Giraffes was one of the big ones. The giraffes were a high commodity in the Chinese court
Oh yeah,
because it's like a giant weird
it'd be
bicorn.
really
mouse
awkward to fit into
leopard
a
deer.
fucking boat. Like,
Yeah, I would imagine they get really antsy. Even
I
on a
mean,
big
Noah
boat.
did it, so.
Yeah, but he only had 2, so
Yeah,
they're bringing back enough for the entire imperial court.
so probably only 2.
Like 4.
Maybe.
We only have to sorry, the rest of you are gonna have to
Okay.
die.
Well, that's so. Again, slight diversion. One of the weird history facts that's hilarious to me is that the Galapagos tortoises.
Mhm.
So they were discovered by Charles Darwin
Right.
in what 17
Yeah.
whatever. They were not what's the scientific term scientifically described in the Royal Society until the late 1800s, because none of them made it back alive because they're fucking delicious.
Oh, God.
So they would go to the Galapagos Islands. There was not a Panama Canal at the time.
Right.
So they would have to sail, under South America.
Yeah, all the way around through the.
And the sailors could not resist eating because they're big and squishy and not very mobile. So they would just stack them basically as pallets on the bottom of the ships, and they would all be eaten by the time they got back to England. So it took over 100 years from the time they were discovered to the time they were scientifically.
We just have to get from here to there without eating all of the turtles.
Yep.
Yeah,
It took like 100 years for that to happen.
that's awesome.
I mean, I'm not saying I would eat a tortoise,
I mean,
but that makes me really curious. I would
Honestly,
imagine,
not
turtle
just
soup has been a
natural
thing for a
selection.
very long
Yeah.
time.
and it's like the biggest, tastiest turtle.
And when you're stuck on sea for that long, you're
Yeah.
like, well, fuck it.
Yeah.
We have all this food. It's just eating more of our food. Let's
Yeah.
just eat them instead.
Well,
I don't know have you ever? I've never had any kind of turtle.
Neither have
tortoise,
I.
I'm a white person.
I'm the whitest of white people.
But like,
I would imagine it tastes like fatty chicken.
But
Like
I mean, because
I don't know.
the closest I would think, like, is just generically,
Yes.
is like all the other fucking reptiles of
Yeah.
just kind of
But it's
chickeny, but not.
yeah, because I mean, like alligator,
It's
fine,
kind of
but it's like it's a carnivore and it's a working
Right.
thing. Tortoise is just like
more herbivory, and like it's not like the mussels are doing a whole lot. And
They're definitely herbivores.
Yeah.
well,
Wait,
no,
wait.
I mean some are omnivores.
Maybe.
I mean, my three-toed boxer.
Fuck abortion.
So many rooms.
There has to be a reason
Why-
why they
why?
live for a century.
Mitch McConnell.
Oh,
Obstruction of justice. The Biden rule.
Jesus Christ.
Oh.
Sorry, was that
Yeah.
too archaic?
The political climate
Fuck
currently
that
on
guy.
abortion.
Yeah.
We're avoiding those subjects, so Kayla doesn't have to.
It was
edit them
too.
And herbivores, and the fact that I'm a carnivore.
out. And political herbivores.
And how that suddenly just becomes a thing of like there's so much red meat packed into my colon that I can no longer legally shit in the state of Alabama.
Oh my god.
But you could sculpt it into like a little fecal fetus, and it'd probably still be a better representative of the people than Mitch fucking McConnell.
But my discussion in my swashbuckling game was more meme worthy to share because we were laughing about Russia being actually successfully invaded by the Mongolians because they came from the side that the Russians always run to when they're being invaded.
Well,
And they're like,
Yeah.
fuck, no, you're
And,
coming from the wrong side. We don't know. What do we do? This is where we run. And here comes
Russia was not really a thing until the Mongols, and they weren't really a thing until because of the Mongols. Like the Grand Duchy of Rusland. Well, really, it was the Grand Duchy of Muscovy, but whatever.
Well, sorry, I was laughing
Yeah,
about.
I mean,
But
common
you're not
misconception.
entirely
It's like,
wrong.
They came from this direction. Everybody else starts from this
They
direction.
came from the wrong side of the mountains.
They're like, wait, no, what the fuck? That's where we run. We can't run that way. They'll kill us. Okay, I guess
Oh,
we'll
shit,
just
okay.
be taken over then.
I mean, there's a general rule that you can only do a thing unless you're the or you can't do the thing unless you're the Mongols.
Yeah.
Can't win a land war
That's
in
just because
Asia
there was just the gift of the
unless you're the
Mongolian
Mongols.
Unless you're
Empire.
the
You
Mongols.
can't win a war in winter unless you're the Mongols. You can't establish a multicultural, multi-religious society across several continents unless you're the Mongols. I mean
they-
and then, you know,
Yeah, have a
They had a good chunk.
empire
he died
larger
and
than
then
the
it
Roman
all
Empire unless
collapsed
we're the
fast enough,
Mongols.
laying in a cupboard.
Make Mongolia great again.
I don't know. That might be a little bit too topical for the
Because walls work every time.
every time.
That's the Star Trek.
Unless
one,
you're the
right?
Mongols.
Unless you're the Mongols.
Genghis Khan, right?
Hey,
I mean, even Hadrian's Wall. I mean,
There's no
I've
copy.
seen.
what? Hadrian's Wall is highly effective. There are almost no illegal Mexican immigrants in York.
The funny thing about Hadrian's Wall is, guess where the current Scottish-English border is?
I'm just saying.
There's no
there's
Mexicans
almost no
Oh,
Mexicans.
like,
you
China,
see
no
very-
Mexican immigrants.
yeah, very few Central American caravans in China.
Yeah.
Highly effective wall.
Yeah, they're not crossing the Mongolian border into China.
Nope.
There's very few. Wait, Mexican.
How easy is it for them to get from Central America to China?
That's
Walls work.
It's all the walls.
It's the wall.
There's
No,
the
it's the
defending
wall.
it would be super
It's
easy.
the wall.
They can swim.
It's the wall. That's why we need
Pacific Ocean.
wall.
I would expect the Spanish Inquisition, the Spanish occupation.
But
so adjacent but totally different, not political story. But I think one of my favorite historical anecdotes about the Great Wall of China was the engineer who was hired to build a section of the wall, and he said, "I need exactly 14 million and 5 bricks." The emperor was like, "Are you sure you only need that many? You should probably order some extras just to make sure." He's like, "Okay, fine. I want 14 million and 6 bricks." So he built the wall with exactly that number of bricks, and then put the extra brick as the monument in front of it. And that was the wall. This is my wall. It took this
and
many
here's your brick.
Here's your
because
extra
I ordered
fucking
an
brick.
extra.
Yes, I need one later.
This group had a lot of ADD, and we could not stick to one subject or
Which is-
even 2 subjects. We had talked about like 6 things.
Which is more than the last couple of weeks when I've
Yeah.
finally wandered over here after close, and like when I sat down to say one word and then Noodle went home and I was left to my own devices, and she made me do the end thing, and I don't want to do the end thing again, so I say Drew does it.
Don't want to do the
Power
ending
bomb.
Yeah,
again.
he has
Telegraph.
spoken the fewest words.
That's a good way to sum it up. Viking power bottoms and drafts.
Power bottoms and giraffes. Oh, hey, my wallet.
Always
I'm not gonna lie, I thought you
pasteurized
said-
your cheese.
Viking power bottoms and drafts, which would follow through with the naval elements and also the brewing
Yes.
elements.
Like as long as okay, never mind. Nope.
Like
drafts
the
and,
shit,
Drafts and drafts.
follow the shit, click on the shit, join us next week.
Somewhere in the doobly doo.
The things are
Like
vaguely
subscribe.
somewhere under here.
We're up there, maybe.
Maybe
I think they're down there.
down
I mean,
there.
that one's down there, but then the last
Like
week's
button.
episode is probably up
Oh,
here
it's
somewhere.
probably up here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or well, over there. I think.
Or over there.
yeah.
Like
Wait,
this video,
if I'm
click
watching
on the
the-
bell for notifications.
Yeah,
over
Comment
there.
down below what you thought of this podcast.
Or don't. Whatever.
Don't listen to it.
And some of those were words.